Want to know how I got these scars? Well, I'm the Joker, baby.
All right. Welcome to Musicians Movie Club. I am Dan.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Michael.
That's Michael. Michael Garrity of Nora Marks Music.
The music is part of the band name.
Yeah. If it's in your Instagram handle, it's a part of your band name officially.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's like us, you know.
Damagerchi.
Damagerchi to you. And Michael's sharing a film with us. 2008.
So set the scene for us, Dan.
2008. Obama.
Mm-hmm.
What was he saying? Change.
Hope and change.
Hope. Change. Shepherd Ferry posters lined the walls, and it was a cool time. And then a green-haired dude walked in, and he started laughing. And a British man named Chris said, "I'm going to film that."
It's a documentary, really, the movie we're talking about today.
Yeah.
I had a car. I had an Obama bumper sticker on one side, and this promotional Harvey Dent for DA bumper sticker on the other one.
Hell
This
yeah.
was 2008. My friend said, "Your life doesn't really get any better from here, does it?" Honestly, maybe he's right.
Of course, the film is The Dark Knight. 2008, directed by Chris Nolan.
Chris, as his friends call him.
Chris. And Michael, do you want to tell us about why you chose this film?
Well, it's the movie I've seen the most ever by like a long shot.
Do you know how many times?
I mean, at least 25 probably.
Hell yeah.
I saw this movie 11 times in theaters on the initial run when it came out.
That's amazing.
That is wild. You told me this the other night, and my mind was blown.
It was just kind of an event thing.
Yeah.
That my friends and I were kind of like we were kind of the perfect sort of like market group for this one. And we got really involved. Do you remember the like viral marketing campaign? Or are you guys maybe too young to even?
I feel like I was too young. I don't think I know about this.
So I have a lot of memories of this coming out for a handful of reasons. The first thing I remember was going on MySpace.com, and the front page had a news article and a video of the hospital being blown up. And it was like, this is for the new Batman movie. And I was like, why?
They spoiled that scene.
Why are they blowing up a hospital?
It's like the best scene.
I don't think I had seen Batman Begins, but I saw that. And what was the viral marketing campaign?
I don't even remember exactly. There was like websites. You'd go to them. You'd kind of like, I can't remember the specifics of it, but you'd be like, you kind of help with like a little mystery, and you'd get clues. But then it kind of spiraled into this thing where I got a box. That's where I got the bumper sticker. I got a box with like a Gotham Gazette newspaper that had all these like completely like full-size like 8-page newspaper with stories about what was happening in Gotham, the DA's race, and Harvey Dent as like an elected official. And then there was something, I don't remember how we knew to do it, but my friends and I put on Joker makeup and we took a picture at the college in my hometown, the most haunted college in Indiana. And anybody who had like a cool Joker picture would get it posted on this website. So we were just really heavily involved in like literally the sort of like hype. We were like the street team for this movie. So when it came out, we just sort of like went all in on just like making it an event, you know what I mean? And like really just making it an important cultural moment. And then it kind of just led to, in a lot of ways, like my that's sort of where my interest in movies as like an art form sort of because it was a very big deal that it got voted quickly into like the top 5 IMDb movies of all time. So we were just kind of like, what if we just kind of watched these? So we watched, we didn't make it very far, but I think we made it about 11 or 12 movies in. But that's sort of the reason why I kind of went back and watched a lot of like, important or significant or just really great movies. So, in that way, the movie kind of like kicked off my cinephile phase, I would say.
That's awesome.
If my memory serves, like, I think number 1 was Shawshank Redemption.
At the time, it was number 2, and 1 was like Godfather, maybe,
Godfather,
or one that was really high that I think was Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That was always like perennially like number 3 or 4. What was really high up there? Shawshank.
Goodfellas, right?
Goodfellas is really high up there. I'm trying to think of the things that I watched as a result of this.
Yeah.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but that was like lower, like 8 or 9. I don't know.
Not even worth watching at that point.
Like, no, that's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I remember seeing Shawshank Redemption, after like a long time of having held it in high regard because of the stuff like the IMDb top list, and just being like, yeah, that was good.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I was like, oh, that was a lot of movie.
Yeah.
Oh, Empire Strikes Back is the one I was thinking of. That was number 1 at some
nice.
point.
Nice.
Yeah, Shawshank Redemption is fine. I don't have like a strong desire to watch it again. But what are your favorite of these kind of like high cinema like classic movies?
High cinema classic movies.
You know, have you guys like The French Connection?
I haven't seen The French Connection actually.
Very fun.
I want to see
It's
that.
a bummer.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm just talking about how much I love Zone of Interest. I love a good bummer movie.
Yeah, William Friedkin, who directed French Connection and Exorcist and
Yeah.
Sorcerer.
Sorcerer is awesome.
There-
That's my high cinema. I like that movie.
That's my high
Trucks.
cinema.
Yeah, my high cinema is
All right.
Sorcerer.
I've never even heard of that before.
It's about I'm gonna butcher it. I was pretty sleepy when I saw it, but all I remember is there were these trucks and they were gonna explode and they had to drive them through the forest and they couldn't explode.
It's like Speed.
It's
No.
it's not a time-based task.
Yeah, it's just like the cargo is like volatile.
It's like nitroglycerin.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they
But it's like super intense and sweaty and everyone's like covered in dirt and it's really manly.
it's awesome. It's just like 4 or 5 trucks full of explosives that have to drive through the jungle, and they just drive really slow. And
It's amazing.
and every
Okay.
now and then something
Yeah,
blows up.
that's
It's
cool.
awesome. Yeah, but all of his movies are kind of like wacky, kind of like in like they're like disjointed and like bad things happen, like in a way where it's like, oh, that's kind of unsatisfying. I can't believe all these bad things happen to these characters. But the Dark Knight.
I was gonna make a transition.
Okay, go ahead.
Speaking of
I'll cut out my
movies
part.
where trucks have explosives in them.
Ooh, damn, that's good.
Yeah, because they got the bazooka in the truck. Yeah,
The Dark Knight Rises is all about a truck with an explosive in it.
That's
True.
That's true.
but we're not talking about that at all.
Maybe we'll see.
I feel like you kind of have to bring it up.
Yeah, we have to.
Eventually.
Well, at least Dark Knight Rises, I actually remember like seeing in theaters and like going to the midnight premiere. Dark Knight, I think I was a little too young because I remember showing up to school one day. My friend was like, "Oh, there's a new Batman movie," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "Oh, it's pretty scary." And I was like, I don't want anything to do with that.
That's where I was.
I didn't watch it till like later.
Yeah, when Batman began, it is kind of scary. It scared
Yeah.
my kids the first time. I tried to show my first son when he was a little too young. That was probably a mistake. That's how it was with Batman Begins. I was like kind of not really interested. I was really into Batman as a kid, but then I was like in high school, so I was like less interested. But then I started reading comics again, and then I kind of went back and watched it like a year after it came out.
Yeah.
So that sort of like sucked me back into that.
I saw this on I believe opening night.
Me too.
And we were taken by, or maybe it was just the day of then, maybe like the Friday, maybe Friday morning or something. And my sister was dating a guy named Colin, and I just don't remember anything about this guy other than that, and that he was so fucking stoked on Dark Knight. Like he had saw it opening night, and the next day he was like, you gotta come. And so also took me with them. And I was 13 years of age, and it was so packed that I had to sit in one of those really uncomfortable seats at the front where your like neck is like craning
yeah,
upward.
I've been there.
And I was fucking blown away. Like this movie for me is up there with like that really magical, like being taken with a film in a way where it's like every little thing is like so fucking cool. Like I just have this vivid memory of going to see this movie on opening day and like that pencil thing. I like went to school the next day and I was like, did you guys
Doing it to your friends.
Yeah, I was doing it to everybody. I was killing all my friends. But I was like, did you guys see that? There's this part where he has a pencil, like that was, I was taken.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
And like, I still like, as a much more grown adult, I can see the critiques you can make, but I overwhelmingly believe that this movie is high quality blockbuster filmmaking.
Yeah.
Can I throw some ideas
Yeah.
and talking points?
Go for
out
it.
here? All right. Christopher Nolan, are you guys generally fans? Yes
Yeah.
or no?
I had to come around on him, admittedly, and it wasn't until, and you're gonna hate this, Tenet, that I was like, maybe I was wrong about this guy.
Tommy's on fucking drugs.
That's interesting because you like philosophy so much, and I feel like his movies are almost all just like sort of philosophical allegory. He doesn't really like do much.
Allegory is generous because at least in allegories you're not just like saying the philosophy the whole time. And that was my problem for so long. And I have this problem with The Dark Knight. We can get into this a little bit. His movies just love to explain themselves the entire movie, and I'm like, dude, we get it. We get it.
It's dumb movies for smart people or smart movies for dumb people?
Are you talking about a smart dumb movie or a dumb smart movie?
Yeah. Like, is the idea to like convey a complex idea to everyone in a simple way, or is he just not? He's not capable of hitting
No,
that?
he is so smart. I have so much respect for Christopher Nolan. I think it is smart movies for everyone, not even just dumb. I think it's for everyone.
I know
yeah. Like I wouldn't. Yeah.
I was just trying to.
But in its being for everyone, I think he also has a tendency to maybe speak down to some people because he's trying to reach too many.
Is that why you like Tenet? Because that's the only one where he doesn't put any effort into that, I feel like.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. It's just vibes and weird shit happening.
But in Tenet, everything else sucks. The performances are bad. The editing is bad. Anyway,
You're
Dark
wrong.
Knight.
Kenneth Branagh in Tenet, and it was like Russian.
I don't give a shit about Kenneth Branagh in anything.
In The Dark Knight, because I get what you're saying, because they are pretty much waxing poetic on the concepts of the film.
Yeah, everyone's just explaining what their character represents the whole movie.
But I think I'm not going to say that that's not. I don't know. I think maybe you're giving the masses too much credit. I think he had to. I think he had to do that.
I'm not saying he didn't have to. I'm saying I don't like it.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting
I
at.
think it's a problem in the other two Batman movies he does.
Dude, Dark Knight Rises script is so bad.
I think it's worse than Dark Knight Rises.
I don't remember enough about Dark Knight. I didn't watch the other two to prepare for this. It's been so long since I've seen either of those.
In Dark Knight Rises, I'm like, it's like watching pro wrestling. It's so, like, I'm just like, I'm buying in. I am foregoing my barometers for intelligent constructions of things. I'm watching people get beat up for pure muscular visceral entertainment. Yeah. But in Dark Knight, I think it was especially amazing because the movie elevated that genre as a whole. Yeah. I believe that no other superhero movie to that point had ever tried to do anything other than adapt comic books.
So it's like some just do that well, like Spider-Man, and then some.
Well, so the Spider-Man movies, which I think are also amazing movies, the Samuel Raimi films.
Sure.
Samuel Raimi. That's a French Spider-Man.
Yeah, I caught that.
So I think Raimi's Spider-Man movies are just great blockbuster film in the sort of like Spielbergian Zemeckis style.
Yeah.
I think Nolan intellectualized the property, and I think, if you take issue with doing it to the point where he had to do it so much that it got dumbed down in a way, that's one thing. But I think that he elevated the material to the point where it was like he was actually adding a level of philosophy to it at all, which I think is super admirable.
Yeah.
And I think it also low-key ruined culture for like 5-10 years.
Whoa, what do you mean?
Like, okay, let's be honest. The bad influences. Hot Topic was never the same, guys. Yeah. and I think I'm kind of going into a tangent here.
Do it.
Like, okay, Suicide Squad, Jared Leto, right? The whole marketing campaign for that movie was Leto's going fucking method. He's sending bullets to Will Smith in the mail. And it was like, that was all based on the, like,
completely misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding the Joker's, like, his and he fucking nailed it, okay? Ledger nailed it. And then
amazing.
Yeah.
Best part of the movie.
Is that oh, good.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you feel like that is... Do you feel like that's a strength of this movie, though, in hindsight, that it kind of got it without... there was kind of no question that it knew what it was doing and why it was doing it, and the fact that everything has gotten it kind of so wrong since then, do you feel like that's a strength of this movie now, or do you think it...
I don't know if it's anything... Like, I don't know if it's on the movie that people took it... not took it the wrong way.
I'm just saying, like, I guess I just mean, like, do you appreciate that it, like... that at least it had a clarity of purpose, you know what I mean? That, like, Jared Leto just didn't... He couldn't comprehend.
Yeah, I know. And then America was filled with 14-year-old Jared Letos who were like, we live in a society, and went on Xbox and screamed.
This is where age might be a difference, because is this something that, like, really does stick out to you as, like, that's a big part of, like, Joker iconography to you, is, like, the internet and, like, that sort of, like, just, yeah, that's, like, a big part of the Joker to you, is that young people used him in, like, as, like, a weird avatar.
Yeah, and it's because of this movie.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And but, like, I wasn't trying to critique this movie for doing that, but I do want to point it out because it's really crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting and like huge kind of impact that it had. It's
Yeah.
like, so it's an important thing to bring up, I would say. What other movies recently have done that?
Things were like, I don't know, because
Barbie.
Yeah, that's true.
But do you think people, well, like Barbie, we have to maybe wait a little bit, I think, to see truly the waves that Barbie is going to make.
I saw somebody in a Barbie hoodie though today at the
There you go.
children's birthday party I was at, like
See,
a grown woman. Yeah.
I am Knuff. Was it that one?
Dude,
No, just the Barbie logo.
See, I saw somebody in an I Am Knuff hoodie, and I was like, when I saw that movie in theaters and that he came out wearing that, I was like, some dumb motherfuckers are going to be paying $65 for that.
I know.
So much,
Yeah. We don't need to get into things I don't like about the Barbie movie, but that. Oh my god.
I'm a proponent of the Barbie movie.
I love the Barbie movie.
Yeah, which I think we already talked about in our previous episode.
Yeah, we
but,
did.
But like it is, I do think that is kind of already starting to show that it's been a little bit misunderstood. Like,
The fact that Warner Brothers wants to do an entire Mattel extended universe.
oh my god, I don't know if I should. I'm gonna decide if I should talk about this in a public forum or not, but I did just receive some pretty interesting information from a friend of mine who works in LA in a talent agency, and he was telling me about how his boss represents, what are the big toy companies? There's Mattel and
Hasbro.
I think it was Hasbro. Transformers is Hasbro, correct?
I don't
Okay,
know.
well
Yeah.
his
Even buying up properties left and right, it's hard to keep track of.
so his boss was Michael Bay's agent at some point and helped bridge the gap between him and Transformers. And my friend was telling me
hero.
that since Barbie, he has seen and had his hands on a deck of potential properties to be adapted into movies that are all toys. And it's like 500 ideas in it. It goes as far as Scissors.
Scissors the
Like
movie.
Scissors the movie. And
So
like,
because we're getting J.J. Abrams' Hot Wheels, I know is a thing.
okay, Hot Wheels was like the first one that came to mind. That's like top 3 in this.
Yeah, and then there's the
PowerPoint.
Ouija board movie, which I think falls into that. I think that's still technically Mattel.
There's
There's
like
another one they're talking about. Magic 8 Ball, I think, might be a horror movie, but I might be making that up.
That's both that and Ouija board sound like they could be good horror movies. If
Yeah.
done well.
But yeah, it was like it's like a 500
That's
list of like
dumb.
things that are the strongest and not, and it's all simply because the industry said, Barbie, that's based on a toy. We do more based on toy. We make more money.
Yeah,
do.
this is just sponsored content. They're
Yeah.
just, they've just figured out what like people on the internet have been doing for 10
Well,
years.
there was something else that was established IP that was a big hit. Super Mario.
Great movie, though.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's a movie I've watched
That was a
lot.
fun
I
one.
also enjoyed Super Mario, and I enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons. It was the year of established IP, really surprising
You
me.
do love Dungeons and Dragons. I think about you every time I see the ads.
I only saw it once, and maybe I'll watch it again and get depressed because I overrated it this whole time, even though I was fighting a war for it. But yeah, my thoughts: Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Let me direct it.
Yeah.
Steel. You can be
I know,
better
Real
than
Steel. I was like, wait, didn't they do that? And then I also remembered IMDb like 15 years ago. Like whenever you would check on Steven Spielberg's IMDb page, it would say that he had a project in pre-production called Robopocalypse.
Is it gone now?
Yeah. Transformers crushed it. Like they
Damn.
decided to make
That's
Transformers
right, yeah.
instead. But I was always like, he's making a movie called Robopocalypse? Like that sounds like a fucking direct-to-DVD title.
Yeah.
And then they made Real Steel and Transformers, and it was done. So
I've only seen that first Transformers. Also, this was around the time when my friends and I were going to see a lot of like everything that came out.
yeah.
Transformers was a disappointment, and I haven't seen any of them since.
Oh, the first Transformers was a disappointment for you?
Well, I didn't care about the material in the first. I wasn't like a big Transformers fan, so I was just going
Yeah, I wasn't
with
either.
no nostalgic interest.
I remember liking it, but I was also like pretty young and just like watching stuff explode. So I think that was about the bar that I had for that movie.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
And
Yeah.
I had the same bar, and it worked.
Yeah, that's what
I really liked the first Transformers movie when it came out.
I think I own it. I don't think I've watched it, but I think I own it on DVD.
Go back and watch 2 because it is fucking cracked. It is insane.
You know what else is fucking cracked? The Joker.
Sure is. He's damaged.
that was
Oh, he's damaged. You're right. He's got it on his forehead. Lest we
Is that where you got your
forget.
band name from?
No.
Jared Leto Joker?
No. Yeah, I'm a big Joker head, so I was just like, I should make a band about this.
Famously, Leto's your favorite Joker, as we all know.
I think Jared Leto mythology surrounding the Joker thing is really funny.
It's so. I've already said fuck Jared Leto on this podcast before, but like fuck Jared Leto.
There's one episode where somebody goes, "He's pretty good in Dallas Buyers Club." You just stonewall him.
Was that? I think that may have been Joe in Tron.
Yeah, I'm sure. Tron's the only time I remember talking about him because he's gonna be in the new one.
You mean Tron 3? He's gonna be Tren.
Yeah, Churthreen.
Fucking
dumb.
The Dark Knight.
What is there talking about?
When can I get to my list of lines that made me roll my eyes? Is it too soon?
That's too soon.
Okay, well, wait.
You got.
This is what I wish I had my notes for. These are also things I wrote down.
Folks at home, wait for the lines because I got plenty too.
You got some too.
Let's talk about Heath Ledger. Let's talk about performances in this film. Heath Ledger, I already said this, but it was a performance that changed the zeitgeist, and it's kind of crazy that he got the Oscar posthumously. Yeah. Because he probably deserved it regardless, but only got it because he died. You know what I mean?
He definitely got it because he died.
Yeah.
That.
But like it's still.
Question. Yeah.
But you're right. I think he should have. I think he should have gotten it anyway. Yeah.
He's really funny, like genuinely. You know, like for all the, he's really known for being so menacing in the role, but like he's really funny. Like his comedic timing is excellent.
And that's the thing, though. Like the only reason he's funny, it's not the lines he's saying; it's the way he delivers them and his timing. I have that written down where I'm like, the Joker is genuinely funny, and it's solely because of Heath Ledger's delivery. Because like the lines themselves are like kind of dumb, but that's the point.
Yeah, well, he's there. He's like, he believes it.
He sells it.
He thinks that guy thinks that is very funny to do that. Yeah.
But I don't even know if it's that or like the character himself is like, this isn't funny, but I'm like a little sick freak, so I'm gonna say it anyway. Like I don't know. I guess some of that vibe.
He's a literal Joker,
Literal Joker.
What's the best Joker scene?
The best scene? You know what comes to mind, at least for the funniest delivery, or like one of my favorites, is when he walks into the gang round table, and then he goes, "So you really think you're just gonna rob us and walk away?" And he goes, "Yeah."
I laughed so hard at that.
That's good. Like that's just legitimately funny. That's SNL skit level. Like
I had that written down in my notes too.
He has like great little moments, and like there's a part that that I always like where when Batman comes up on the roof at the end, or like inside that building to face the Joker, and he's got those two dogs, and the first time he looks at him, he kind of just gives him like a weird sort of like head tilt. That to me, I feel like is like those little like physical mannerisms really make it. I'm sorry though, I think I talked over you, Tommy.
No, you didn't.
Same thing with like honestly the way he's like looking at them when he says that, when he answers that guy and says yeah. It's like the way he's kind of like hunched over with that bomb thing. I don't know. It is like
yeah, he's literally holding like a bunch of grenades.
Yeah, the fact that that's the thing that's funny about it is it does old timey like old Joker comic book stuff, but in this like serious crime movie. So it really does like highlight the absurdity of like doing that like in a comic book and how weird that is that people will just read that and kind of not really think about it, but also doing that to like these serious mobsters and they can't really they live in this world of like everything is serious all the time and you just insert like the silliness into it and it they can't do anything about it. They're so sort of lost in this like one program.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say my favorite Joker scene, which I think has to be the hospital when it doesn't blow up the first time. He's like mashing the button a little bit. Yeah. That's my favorite moment in the whole movie.
Supposedly a real reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived that from what I understand.
And to your point about taking cartoony concepts and bringing them into the real world, I think that's another thing that this movie really set the pace for. Was again like Spider-Man, bright pulpy colors, like primary color filmmaking, right? And then I think this movie was like, we can treat it as if it is on the same level of literature, I suppose. And that like the world can be like grounded and real, and like it can have like real like bloody stakes. And I think so many movies have tried to do it since Zack Snyder's whole career, basically, but like
you've got to find that balance of like still acknowledging the absurdity in the midst of it being grounded. And Nolan did a good job of that. And it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so freaking hard to do. Because I'm trying to think of other good. I mean, Logan kind of does it. I think does a good job. But that doesn't really have the absurdity piece of it. I don't know.
I guess it's still a movie about a man with like knives in his hand.
Yeah, which is like genuine, like objectively kind of funny.
Do you think that it's just like that these movies are just trying to do like like a genre instead of the genre being like superhero movie. You know, they're trying to do like a Heat style sort of like crime movie, or like Logan is just sort of like almost a Western type drama. You know, is it when you like get like, or like Sam Raimi movies are just like pulpy like blockbusters? Like, is it when they try to like veer out of film genre, you know, that it gets messed up because you can't really, because it's just not, you're trying to fit like the wrong kind of storytelling onto a.
Well, I don't know if superhero like functions as a genre, or like at the time before the MCU was a thing and like had its own like.
I basically mean post Marvel. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think if Chris was in this room right now, we could be like, "Hey, man, you were trying to do Heat, right?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." Yeah, this movie, both thematically and aesthetically, is emulating Heat in many ways, which is an incredible movie to try and emulate. So
I have no qualm,
no issue, especially like I think in particular, and it didn't really reflect on the Peacock streaming version that I watched of this, but the sound design, which Nolan has sort of become known for. In a way of like, I think that's really like where Heat excelled in a lot of ways was the sound design, especially of weapons, like really puts you there.
All the shootouts, like you feel that.
Yeah, and I think he was going for that, and then also just like the way it's directed, it's like functionality as an aesthetic, kind of like, you know, like the opening scene of The Dark Knight is for me beat for beat perfect. Like it's
awesome.
It is incredible filmmaking. Like the way that you learn so much so quickly without being told literally by all of his characters.
Well, there's stuff where it's like, I guess the Joker's as crazy as they say. Like that's a little annoying, but I'll give you the rest of it.
But I don't know. Like I think that, you know, it's just like all the like.
That's why they call him the Joker.
No one says that's why they call him the Joker.
I wrote it down.
Oh my god. All right, fuck this movie. This movie sucks.
You guys like William Fichtner's like the guy who's hired you? You guys like that?
You and your friends are dead.
Oh yeah, that guy lives.
I love the opening scene. I think it's a perfect opening scene.
Yeah.
Just like high level, I think it's a perfect opening scene. Little things, I'm like, okay, whatever.
I think Fichtner's also in Heat.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
That was, I feel like that was on purpose. I feel like I remember it. Yeah.
But also thematically, Heat is also a movie about the unstoppable force and the immovable object, right? It is about the criminal and the detective, the vigilante. In this case, it's Batman. In Heat, it's Pacino. You know, the people who are the top, the best of their career path, and they respect each other, and they have a symbiotic relationship, which is also kind of harkens back to, I think, Westerns and kind of the idea of like black hat, white hat kind of mythical storytelling. Mm-hmm. So anyway, like Batman is Heat. And
do we know if Michael Mann has like said anything about The Dark Knight getting credit for stuff that he like initially introduced into the vocabulary? Do we know if Michael Mann's like pissed about it?
What do you mean specifically? Like
just like the visual language of The Dark Knight is so indebted to Heat, and I feel like I know tons of people who have never seen Heat that love The Dark Knight, and I'm like, you got to see Heat because it's the same thing but better. And then people are like, that's impossible. I'm like, no, it like invented this thing. Like,
do you think there's a marketing problem for Heat where it was like the kind of novelty of the first De Niro Pacino movie where they're kind of like in the same timeline, they're in the same space, like that kind of overshadowed what came to be known as like the like filmmaking sort of like language of it, you know, that it just kind of basically overshadowed what was great about it as like a film.
I don't know a lot about the marketing of Heat.
Oh, I don't either. I'm just asking.
Okay.
Like, that's kind of my knowledge of Heat before I saw it was like this is like the Pacino De Niro movie.
That makes sense. They'd market it that way, but
I think that's what I thought when I was going into it, and then I saw it and I was like, holy.
So
fuck.
it's like kind of jars. It's jarring because I just thought it would be like kind of an action movie of some sort. Or
and just like a good drama with some action.
Yeah.
But 3 hours long, and I was like, oh god, I don't want to watch that. And I was like, oh, this is like maybe the greatest action movie of all time.
But like, and film noir too.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that movie, along with the movie Drive, which
also like has a similar place in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, kind of. I think. I mean, Dark Knight. I think hit over like. Drive hit for film bro zeitgeist, I think, in a way that like people bought that jacket. You know? Yeah. And it taught me something about screenwriting. It's actually something I relayed to my class last week was the concept of like showing a character, like at the beginning of a story in particular, it's a really strong opening, showing a character doing what they do best and being who they are at its most. And I think Heat does that, where they stage that big heist. Drive does that because he does the little job, then he's like does the you got 18 seconds or whatever and all that stuff. And it happens in Dark Knight too. It's the Joker being a Joker,
being manipulative, and yeah, clever.
It's like such a cool way to start a movie.
It's a really cool way to start a movie.
More performances. We were talking about Heath Ledger.
I do want to talk about Christian Bale at some point, because I like that. Like, I love American Psycho so much that I can't not see him as Patrick Bateman a little bit in every other movie he's done. But I genuinely feel like he's doing a little bit of a Patrick Bateman for his Bruce Wayne, and I think it works.
I think that's why he got hired almost.
Yeah.
Because they're basically the same character.
Yeah, just
and the
one kills people.
The similarity. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it's just like someone who has all the freedom that they could ever want. And
yeah.
What do they do with that? They just do something weird at night. Basically. It's like it is the same kind of thing.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, he's a great choice in particular in relation to the American Psycho thing because in Nolan's movies, and this is not my original thought. I heard this somewhere, but in Nolan's movies, the character is more often Bruce Wayne than he is Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And in The Batman, he's almost never Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
for example, as a contrast. And I think in a movie series where you have to be Bruce Wayne a lot, Christian Bale's pretty good for.
He's a great Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, and I think he's only Bruce Wayne in that kind of like asshole Bruce Wayne thing that
but like
he
pretending
does.
to be though, yeah.
They go to dinner, right? Because he brings the lady on with him,
The
and
ballerina,
he crashes the
there's that whole part.
Prima ballerina.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, you like ballet? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just such a dick. Yeah.
And then he's
Such a
like,
dick.
"Yeah, actually, Harvey, he's like, I understand your character now. You're actually very important to me."
Because he likes ballet.
Do you guys think Christopher Nolan likes Batman? And both Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, you don't see Batman for like a full hour. There's a whole hour of movie in both cases without Batman.
That's interesting.
I didn't think about it, but yeah, the first a really long stretch at the beginning of Dark Knight Rises is him being an old man,
And then he's in a hole.
Yep.
and he's in a hole.
Yeah, that's true. So there's like a whole other second part with no Batman.
Yeah.
Well, that's boring.
Well, since he kind of elevates the Batman idea to the point of his symbolic use more than anything in his mythological black hat, white hat, God, Satan thing that he's doing, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the smart thing to do. But yeah, he's great. I mean, like, who else would you, of the people who have played Batman, is Christian Bale your favorite, or are there others that are worth mentioning?
I think Keaton's underrated as a Bruce Wayne, but he plays a completely different Bruce Wayne than Christian Bale does.
Yes.
He plays the very paranoid, like, you'd have to be kind of a sick little freak to be Batman version of Batman. And I love that. I love Keaton as Bruce Wayne.
I also like Keaton as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Christian Bale, I've obviously just seen the most, so it kind of like... but I also like the Robert Pattinson one. I kind of like that one the most. I kind of like Batman as... similarly to what you're saying, the scene in the Batman, not to talk about a completely different movie.
No, go for it.
Like when he's walking through that like group of cops to the crime scene right at the beginning, he's coming with Gordon, and all the cops are looking at him, and you can tell he's really insecure.
Yeah.
Because you can tell he's realizing like, oh, I am dressed like a guy who's a Batman.
Yeah.
Like
people
around
aren't
all
on
these real
board with
people,
this.
and they're, like judging me and thinking about me, and you can see that insecurity and that that realization that I am like a weird little freak boy who's like really putting myself out here right now. Like,
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense for, like, he's only been Batman for 2 years, I think, at that point in that
Yeah.
movie. Whereas, like, Christian Bale's like a very confident Batman. And as somebody with severe anxiety, I'm like, I like this Robert Pattinson anxious Batman. I can relate to that.
Well, as we know, Robert Pattinson listened to a lot of The Cure to prepare for the role.
Awesome.
Did you see that? This was an actual news headline?
I don't think I knew about this.
Did you know about this?
I was like a whole thing. He was listening to Nirvana the whole time.
There was a thing about how Robert Pattinson had a playlist that was like The Cure and Joy Division and stuff.
Hell yeah.
He listened to the Smiths too, but he can't admit it publicly.
Yeah. Heaven knows I'm Batman now. That's just this is the annual Smiths bit on the podcast. George Clooney, honorable mention, I think is like a great Bruce Wayne because he's like handsome rich guy in real life.
I just kind of like that movie for like an hour or so. The first
Yeah.
bit of it's good.
Totally.
I like Batman and Robin. Yeah.
I don't care about that big fight at the end and like the icy tower. I'm kind of bored by then almost every time, but basically it's a pretty good movie. Yeah.
It's basically a 90s version of the campy 60s TV show.
Exactly.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
It does get a little exhausting after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batman Forever. Do you guys like that one?
No.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite.
One I've seen the least for sure.
Yeah.
I've seen it a lot, so I have like a strong. Oh, and I also was of a, I was like, I don't know, man, 8, 10, something like that when that came out in the McDonald's like frosted character cups.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Mm.
That's
I had
awesome.
2 or 3 of those, so that was also a big part of my life. So I feel good about it. I like Robin, so I'm glad he got to be in a movie.
Yeah.
Back to the Dark Knight, though. Sorry. Do you guys care that there's no sidekick characters or like any of that kind of stuff?
We get Robin in Dark Knight Rises.
Do you think? What do you think? Yes. Yeah.
That is the dumbest fucking thing.
I know.
You know what?
Which part about it?
Okay. Sorry, it's not the dumbest fucking thing.
There are some other dumb
that was
things
very
about the Dark
extreme.
Knight.
That was very extreme. Sorry. I watched Dark Knight Rises again after Dark Knight, and the problem isn't that twist. It's that they did it like that. Like the way that the line is read. In general, Dark Knight Rises, I think, suffers from one overwhelming problem, and that it is clearly very rushed. Both in the production, in the edit, in the script, like everything was clearly like they were like, we got to get this fucking done. And I also get the feeling that Nolan was kind of like, I don't want to be doing this.
I want to go make a sad
His
space movie.
His passion sort of is like waning at that point.
Yeah,
too.
and
that's why he tries to do something that's not even a Batman movie. It's basically not a Batman movie.
in that scene in Dark Knight Rises, spoiler alert, everyone, Joseph Gordon-Levitt walks into that office and he's like,
Yeah, he's just like a DMV.
yeah, and they're like, he's like Officer John Blake, and they're like, oh yeah, and he's like, oh, might be under my real name, and then she goes, oh, you should go by your real name. I like that. And he turns around and she goes, Robin. It's like it's like The Room. It's like you're my favorite customer. Like.
Blake, John.
Nothing here.
Try my legal name.
You should use your full name. I like that name. Robin.
Thanks.
Can I help you?
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
There are many scenes in Dark Knight Rises that are cut like The Room, where it's like, hello, you're my favorite customer. Goodbye. You know, like.
It's because they just pack so much information into that movie.
Yeah.
And there's like no point when it ever lets up the whole concept of what they were doing, where he's building a bomb. He gets paid to build this bomb, but then the bomb was actually the person who paying him was the person who wanted to build it. You know what I mean? In the first place,
Yeah.
For her plan to work, Bruce Wayne had to. It's just so complicated. Why?
I feel like there was a trend like in the early when that movie came out. Was that 2012?
Yep.
The early 2010s of just maybe even a little bit after that, just very convoluted villain plots in superhero movies. And I'm just like, keep it simple, guys. Blow up a ship or make people blow up the other ship. I don't know. That's
You want to be rich.
yeah. Well, Joker. One of the lines that made me roll my eyes. It's not about money. It's about sending a message, Dan.
I don't have any issue with that line.
I didn't like that line. I thought,
Wait, why did you say Dan? What?
No, I was just saying
Because the Joker says Dan at the end of it.
Joker is famously talking to Dan
Yeah.
in the Dark Knight.
I see all movies as the characters talking to me directly so that I can, like, judge them.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
That
on
that
Letterboxd.
line made me roll my eyes. Not the line itself, but it's one of those well, no shit lines of we already know that.
Yeah, because you're burning a huge pile of money.
Yeah, and I was just like,
Yeah.
why say it? And that was
Well,
a lot of
Doesn't he say it just to himself too? He's like pulling a phone out.
no. Maybe.
I feel like it's just like I know what you're talking about. It feels like an aside. It feels like you're listening to what's in his head.
Yeah,
Which
I
also is
don't need that.
Pretty surface.
I don't know. There is so much of that in the movie, but I don't know. Again, it's like I kind of just feel like we're smart enough to glean a lot of the subtext out of a lot of that movie, and I don't think everybody was, and especially not my 13-year-old ass. I was like,
right, which is why it's a good gateway movie for a lot of people wanting to get into movies that have quote unquote messages or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and again, like I admire that it was doing that at all, and like you know, for example, when Joker's hanging upside down. And they're giving, with the, the sort of
monologuing about.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. For me, as a younger person, I was like, wow, okay. It helped me put the pieces together. I'm not saying it's an invalid criticism.
Here's how
I
feel about it. Maybe this is just a different. Maybe this won't be helpful. As somebody who was had been, for probably about a year or two at this point, reading comics pretty heavily, and I was really interested in them, and I would also go on message boards or talk to my friends about comics. So we'd share ideas about it. It was kind of like this Batman movie stuff, like that scene with the Joker hanging upside down. It's kind of like telling a more general audience what this is how comic book fans appreciate this relationship. So it's not just some guy with a bomb vest inside his jacket. It's not just this silly thing of silly people. It's kind of this is the sort of mythology of it and the sort of meaning behind it. So it's this movie was kind of delivering that message. It was delivering that message in a cinematic way. Maybe this is what I was trying to say earlier about Marvel movies. It was trying to be a cinematic adaptation of this as opposed to a direct adaptation that kind of doesn't. It doesn't. You have to kind of I don't know how to put it. Maybe have an appreciation for it in advance, or it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't do the thing that Dan's trying to say, where it more modern superhero movies don't trust you to understand that there are layers beneath it. They're just giving you the most surface level thing.
But I don't think The Dark Knight trusts us either, or it wouldn't have to explain it the whole time.
Yeah, but do you feel that's just a Christopher Nolan problem?
Yeah. It's not specific to The Dark Knight. Yeah,
he's just speaking a different language.
Yeah.
I think for him. Because I guess in some more classical examples of drama that is happening a lot.
Yeah, it bums me out then too. This is across movies. This bums me out when people explain things we already should know if you're paying attention, I guess.
Yeah. I guess for me, this movie earns the privilege because of the performances and because of the care and because
everything else is yeah.
And I don't know. For me, I'm willing to buy in.
I guess I want to say it doesn't ruin the movie for me. Yeah. It's the one thing that bothers me every time.
Yeah, I'm not even disagreeing with you. I'm just talking out loud. Yeah. It's just I also have a weird complex to defend my opinions all the time because I'm very harsh with them, especially regarding movies. But yeah, I feel like it earns the right to do a lot of walking out to the front of the stage in the spotlight and what is that dramatic apostrophe or whatever.
I don't remember.
A mic drop basically.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
Do you think it's the best Nolan movie?
No.
Oh. I'm gonna say it's my favorite. I wouldn't say best objectively. I would say my favorite.
Yeah.
I do love Interstellar. But I think a lot of people would have the same things that same critiques of Interstellar.
Yeah. I don't like Interstellar.
Yeah. And The Prestige. I think
I like The Prestige. I like The Prestige.
Banger. Yeah, that's a great movie.
Prestige is another one that's a really great gateway movie.
Yeah. I like The Prestige a lot. Best Nolan, I don't even know what my favorite is. Best, I'm tempted to say Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah, that movie is awesome.
Yeah.
That probably is his best movie in a technical.
I want to revisit Inception. I would love to see Inception in a theater, dude.
Yeah, that's a movie though. That's all it's doing. It's reading an instruction manual.
Oh my god,
I don't care.
Inception bothers me so much. Yeah. Inception bothers
me. Guys,
we're
discovering
much.
Tommy's kryptonite exposition.
It was a running bit. It was a running bit in my fraternity that I hated Christopher Nolan, and I used to really not like him until I got over myself. And people would always make jokes about it, like, "Oh, Tommy, want to go watch Inception?" And I'd be like, "Shut up, guys." Tommy hates Christopher Nolan.
I love getting bullied for liking a semi-heady director who's extremely popular.
I was getting bullied for the opposite. They're like, "You don't get it," and I'm like, "No, I do. I don't like it. There's a difference."
That's wild. What, you don't like Wes Anderson? What, pastels scare you?
Do you not
love
like
it.
the feeling of twee?
I love Film Bro Bully as a character. I mean, yeah, he's. I think Tenet is his major blemish, and everything else is cool.
It's a blunder, yeah, for sure.
Tenet's definitely. I'll openly admit it's probably his worst movie. I'm so into it. Like I'm so Tenet pilled. Like I know it's
Dude.
not. I know it's not that good, but I'm just like,
No, I like
I had
this-
so much fun.
I appreciate the enthusiasm and the like being able to just appreciate it as like an experience and not really like it's
Yeah.
not saying anything really. It's just saying.
and
things can go
I think the
backwards.
thing was, I just thought that was refreshing.
Yeah.
Honestly,
That's so crazy because I have the most anti-Nolan like critique of that movie in particular because it was like that was him going too fucking far.
yeah, and that's why I
Like-
thought it was fun because it was so weird.
Well, okay, so I watched that movie with my parents in a quarantine scenario at home, and I was just like, my parents were pissed that we were watching it because they were just like, it was so long, so loud, so like, like
Yeah.
and it was I was just like I have no clue what's happening.
Doesn't matter.
Everyone's talking in the most in ridiculous way.
Yep.
The editing is terrible.
Uh-huh.
Like I was just like, I am so out of this.
You're speaking my language.
That's insane because this is we were just like, oh man, people can't be dramatic in Batman. Now Tenet, it's allowed.
It's so different. They're not trying to do philosophy in Tenet. Like it's fine.
No, you didn't listen.
All right. So what's a better way? Like, I guess, to me, the scene where like the philosophy is like up front, the most is when the Joker's talking to Two-Face in the hospital. That's where it feels like reading an essay, basically.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know how else. What is he supposed to say to Harvey Dent in that situation? I guess the problem is, are you kind of saying like the Joker is basically talking to Harvey Dent like he's stupid in order to like.
No, he's saying stuff that Harvey, I think, already knows, but the audience should, but Christopher Nolan doesn't think they do, so he's explaining it anyway.
But
I don't know. The point of that scene is that Joker is trying to implant ideas in his head so that he
I
becomes
thought Harvey
a bad
was
guy.
already there. Like, that was my thing.
Well, he definitely is in his heart, but is he there in his mind yet, or does the Joker?
I guess maybe not.
There, because he is. The fun part of the movie is when he's like got that guy and he's torturing him, and Batman catches his coin, and they're talking, and they're both in their like character, and they're doing their like gruff voices at each other. Yeah. So he's definitely there. He's ready. He's ready to be like a villain because he's what?
Nothing.
What?
I just thought, no more dead cops. It just came up in my head, and anyway. Sorry, continue with your serious thought.
He's ready to be a villain. So yeah, you're right. So you're saying like he's a smart guy. There's no need to like tell him what you're doing, Joker. You think he already understands what the Joker's doing, and that isn't going to influence who he becomes either way.
I don't know. I honestly hadn't thought about that scene that heavily.
The Joker's
Like-
an influencer. He's got ideas. He's trying to influence people, and he's trying to turn Two-Face heel. He's got to tell him these things. Like, he's trying to fuck with him. He's manipulating him. It's what he does.
Yeah.
I don't think...
I'll give that scene a pass. I mean,
Yeah.
you brought up the scene. I didn't bring up the scene.
Yeah, actually, we're
but-
mad at you, Michael.
No, I did, that one didn't bother me as much, honestly. The one that bothered me is like at the end, like the very end when Dent and Batman are like yelling at each other. I was just so bored. I was like, just wrap this up. Like, you're just doing philosophy at each other. That's when it really bothered me, I think, was like the very end. And I don't remember specifically what they were
Alright.
talking about.
Can I ask you?
Yeah,
a
go for
question?
it.
All right. Can we think of it this way?
Yeah.
That like maybe that's the point of the movie is that a bunch of blowhards can say bullshit at each other all the time, but at the end of the day, someone has to act, and that's what the coin is about. But then Batman. What's interesting about this movie is like that I never got until literally the most recent time I watched it is like the Joker keeps saying you're gonna break your rule, of no killing, and like the whole time you kind of don't. I don't know. The Batman never really that he essentially does. The Joker really does. Like, I don't know how to put this. Like, not that I didn't get that part, but like the kind of psychological. I guess I didn't. I felt the weight. I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to say. I felt the weight of like. He basically did kill somebody on purpose, and like that doesn't really matter how he felt about it. and then it's sort of like there are actions and non-actions, and then like all the philosophy in between is sort of essentially pointless. That it's sort of like about the just like meaninglessness of those conversations at all. And once it comes down to like the nitty-gritty of having to do something.
I mean, I like that reading. I'd have a hard time attributing it to Nolan, but
Oh, that's fine. I will take all the credit for that.
okay. Let's say I like that reading a lot, but I have a hard time seeing that as being the point, considering how seriously Nolan seems to take all those conversations and present them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what we're getting to is that it's just whether you choose to forego that part of your mind.
It's whether or not you like good movies.
You're right.
Another Batman, like a Michael Keaton or Robert Pattinson movie, does that better. Just kind of brings out like.
I don't think the Keaton Batman movies have anything on their mind.
No, I don't either.
And that's why I like them a lot. The Batman, why I like that. I mean, that one has exposition problems for completely different reasons, where it's just like a lot of them explaining the plot because there's so much plot. But I think it does a really good job of like, I don't remember there being any instance where I'm like they're overselling like the Riddler being like this antithesis to Batman and like really delving into it in an explicit way, which I thought was.
There's not like a mythology building aspect to it.
Yeah, and well, there is, but it's just because it's happening. They're not trying to force it. Not that they force it in The Dark Knight, like it's there, but
I think both are valid courses of action as far as creating a movie.
yeah.
So it's not unlike the Spider-Man thing. It's like I think the other Batman movies just tried to be big blockbusters, and they succeeded. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, I like The Dark Knight. I just want to.
We just spent 40 minutes Tommy shit talking Christopher Nolan.
Fun conversation. Can we get another drink?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to use the
let's
bathroom
take a
too.
little pause. We're gonna pee and get some.
We're doing
more
an album
alcohol.
reviews right now.
Clink.
Dude, your room is a mess.
I know.
What the hell's wrong with you, man? What are you doing? What is
Making a video.
You making a video?
Yeah.
Why you paint your face, bro?
Because I'm being the Joker.
Why you be the Joker, dude?
Dude, because the Joker's awesome. Get off it.
Dude, but you ain't even close to looking like him, dude. You gotta be white in the face, bro.
Of course not. I didn't want to put the white stuff on and I have to wait half an hour for it to dry before I put the
You
black
like the
and gray
Joker?
on. Yeah, he's awesome. Lois likes
Does he
him.
like
She
it?
is pretty cool.
He likes the Joker.
Fucking shit, dude.
The Joker's messed up. I saw that movie last night.
Can you laugh like the Joker?
No, don't. That's scary.
Dude, I don't hear it.
Don't laugh.
Dude,
like
dude,
me.
dude.
Don't.
That's pretty good.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the cocktail real quick.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we got a cocktail as we do every episode. Tonight it is the Dark and Stormy,
a classic.
a classic cocktail, some might say, which is dark rum, lime juice, and ginger beer. Simple, elegant, like the Dark Knight, I guess. I don't know. It has dark in the
Garnished
name. What?
Garnished with lime.
Garnished with a lime in a glass with ice.
Feel free to use black rum, new Tommy Kessler single from
New-
last year.
from last February, I think. Good song.
Yeah,
It's
the
banger, yeah.
Dark Knight and Stormy.
Nice.
Stormy Daniels was a person
Whoa,
at some
getting
point.
political.
What are we a political?
Just saying her
Can't say
name.
anyone's name.
Just saying her name. So, what do you guys think about Alpha Brain?
Tommy, what do you think? I'm gonna ask you to speculate on another man's inner soul here.
Okay.
What do you think motivates Christopher Nolan to make movies and like to make a specific kind of movie that is like a mass movie, but also has a very specific one type of dude's vibe that does basically just explain essentially what is his own inner podcast between the Joker and Batman. You know what I mean? Like this is what he's doing. So what's the motivation there?
I think he's an ideas guy for sure. Like, he'll have an idea, like a conceptual something or other that he's like, I want to figure out how to show this. But then he gets very caught up on the making sure everyone understands what the idea is. But he seems like an ideas guy. Like, what if we could like enter people's dreams, or what if Heat was a superhero movie? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, trace it back to the beginning of his career. I mean, if you think about has always been a big ideas person. Memento is.
It's an idea.
Yeah, it's an idea movie.
It's idea the movie.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. The only one I haven't seen is Following, which is his
I liked
original
Following.
one.
I saw that a while ago.
It's a nice movie.
But like I was gonna say, like he's kind of always been a big movie person, in his like tastes. Like even like I guess Memento was probably his first like high budgeted feature, and then Insomnia,
which I haven't seen that.
Which
one.
is high concept kind of detective.
What's that about? I don't know anything about Insomnia apart from Robin Williams and Pacino being in it.
It's about Alaska when it's that part of Alaska where it is like daytime basically for 6 months out of the year. And Al Pacino's like a detective on a case out there for some reason, but he's from New York, so he's not used to it. So it's like basically about his mental degradation as he's trying to chase Robin Williams, who's like, do you remember his
I
bit?
barely remember. He's crazy for some reason.
Yeah, he's just like a crazy killer guy, but he's like he plays it in a way where he's like cold and like wholesome. He kind of appears wholesome, but he's actually a creepy serial killer kind of guy.
I do want to see that. I want to see Robin Williams in that role. It sounds really interesting.
And there's a iconic Al Pacino line when he first arrives in Alaska, and he goes, "Because he's got some great ice."
God damn it! I knew you were gonna do something like that. I didn't know where you were gonna go with it, but I was like, Dan's gonna do Heat, isn't he?
I was like, I have to deliver this so dry, and I couldn't hold it. I'm just too fucking funny, guys. So anyway, yeah, Chris Nolan always been a big ideas type of guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes the idea is too big.
Sometimes it's too big for the movie. But regardless of how I feel about his execution, I will always respect that. And I have a lot of respect for Christopher Nolan.
This reminds me of a funny memory I have being in an undergrad film school when it must have been like 2015 or so. So I'm thinking like, I guess he wouldn't have had a new movie out, but somebody was talking about like, maybe it was Dark Knight Rises or something. And I had a film professor. Yeah, I kind of thought his movie started falling off around Inception. And I remember thinking that was a wild take. And I was just like, I mean, if you like Chris Nolan's movies, I don't think Inception is the one to like crucify.
Yeah.
You know? Like, if you want to make fun of Dark Knight Rises, go nuts.
Inception is like the peak of him being like Christopher Nolan. I think that's like him going peak, a weird idea and then executing it well enough that like it still feels like a fun movie to watch. Interstellar is like two ideas. It basically gets two idea through Tenet, and then Oppenheimer, there's kind of no specific idea. He's just sort of telling this guy's story.
Well, it's about like everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's something just like so straightforward about it that it's like hard to. It doesn't. I don't feel like you're overwhelmed with like exposition, sort of.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer was a story that was complex enough that had its own, like in real life, that had its own politics playing into it, where he didn't have to really turn it into Shakespeare. You know?
Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah. So, but it was still unveiling kind of an interesting moral dilemma.
Yeah, that was more like an ethical idea versus like a conceptual weird conceit to like build a movie off of. It was the ethics of it I think he was interested in. That was kind of the selling point, perhaps.
Do you remember the articles that were like, Christopher Nolan says, "I wanted to physically hurt you to watch the bomb," and then that scene comes up, and you're like, "Oh, cool." That was a great scene.
It's kind of a great scene. It's just like kind of like exhilarating watching him from the side, and then you kind of like get his view, and just like he's just standing in that little.
Well, it's like really quiet for a long time.
Yeah,
and that was cool.
I was in the theater so anxious with my fingers in my ears, like it's gonna get so loud. It's gonna get so loud. I don't like jumps.
It didn't hit that hard though. It didn't.
It did at the
physically hurt
music
me.
box.
Oh well.
Music box was so fucking loud.
All right, well, Landmark Cinemas, you fucked up on my
Music
behalf.
boxes. I also saw Tenet at Music Box, and that was also so loud. It's a loud theater. I love Music Box.
Shut up, Music Box.
Shut up, Music Box. I'm a member there. Everyone should go buy a membership.
Thanks to our sponsor. Yeah.
I just saw Con Air at Music Box. Crazy movie.
Great movie.
Con Air is awesome.
Con Air is a great movie.
I loved it.
That's your son's name.
Yeah, basically.
Here's another Nolan directing note I have. Again, I think he elevated, I don't know, sort of lowbrow medium of comic book storytelling to something a little bit higher with this movie. And I think that maybe what's made it even harder to kind of like really appreciate that beyond just all the other movies that have attempted to do it now is that I think we live in a time like the internet was around and MySpace showed me the hospital getting blown up and everything at the time, but like the internet now has like the cinema sins kind of mentality where it's like, well, it's a plot hole because that's why the movie's bad. And I kind of feel like this movie kind of came out before a time when we were really treating things that harshly. And I think that has really poisoned the well on things like Star Wars too.
That's it's a feature of comic book fandom that I think is like because of superhero movies like leaked into like a more mainstream way of like watching and critiquing.
Like people critiquing comic books that way.
Yeah, and just having that's why comic books have like a history of constantly like kind of repeating their timelines or figuring out ways to create new timelines so
or
that
just
they
fully rebooting.
Yeah, so they don't have to. So yeah, exactly. So they don't have to account for their mistakes essentially. You know? This movie kind of does that thing too for comics where it's like when you talk about comics being lowbrow and sort of a more just like entryway kind of like art form, that's also the parts that kind of like stick the longest, you know. And then when they kind of get serious in the 80s and 90s, they kind of go from being something that's accessible to everyone because they're just openly silly to being like dark and gritty, and it's kind of like then it's like kind of off-putting and like not that accessible for a lot of people, and it becomes very like insular and sort of toxic. And then like The Dark Knight does kind of do that for the idea of comic book movies, where it kind of hits. It's like a Watchmen, you know, where it kind of hits that apex of like presenting it seriously, but doing it in a way that's like still fun and understands and honors the characters, which The Dark Knight Rises kind of still doesn't really do. It doesn't really honor it at all. Yeah. So it's like, but this one kind of like does that, but then every movie that tries to do that after is like a degradation of that concept until it becomes just sort of like becomes like an insular thing again, because it's like Zack Snyder. You can't just be dark and gritty for the sake of it. It sort of takes the fun away.
Yeah,
it's got to be fun.
It's funny that you mentioned that when they got serious, because like the Frank Miller novels, which The Dark Knight Returns.
I love The Dark Knight Returns.
Which is kind of like way more cynical than
fucking dark stuff in that book.
And Alan Moore's work too, with both Watchmen and The Killing Joke. You know, I think they turned the dial up to 10 on the darkness, and I think this movie broached the concept of treating elevating these characters and treating the stories with more reverence of tone in an interesting way. But when I discovered that those kind of comic books existed, I ate it up because I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, what was that one called? Like Gods Among Us or something?
Oh, I know that, but I know what you're talking about. Gods Among Us is an Injustice video game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, but there's something like that. There's a comic. It's got that really crazy art style where everything looks really kind of like not photorealistic, but like pretty close. I don't know.
Not familiar.
Gods Among Us, Injustice 2. Check it out on PlayStation 3. But yeah, I guess what I meant it being a lowbrow medium in the sense of the mainstream world, obviously.
Oh, I didn't take that offensively.
Yeah.
It's actually like in some ways kind of a compliment.
But to clarify for all the listeners who are going to come to my doorstep,
Dan hates comic books and the general public.
I've read a couple. All right. I think of all comic books, I read more Batman than most, but he also has like some of the most
great books.
Yeah,
because it's a great character to write, I feel like.
Yeah,
I've definitely read the most Batman, and then Spider-Man, but so much Batman. I had
Are those your top two superheroes?
It goes back and forth on who's my favorite.
They're my top two.
Yeah, I love Spider-Man.
They're the two best characters. And that's why you can do so much with them, and it doesn't really ever get that stale.
Yeah, I fucking love Spider-Man so much. Oh my God.
I've always been DC favorable. I got started into like reading comics when I was about 20, and I had like a kind of a stint with it, but it's so difficult to like really get in there for the most part. Batman was good because like I already kind of knew a lot about him from movies and things, but then like also you can kind of pick up wherever, like you can go, you can read Killing Joke on its own, you can read Dark Knight Returns on its own, or I read the the Court of Owls and and those books. And Nightfall was another one.
I haven't read Nightfall, the Bane one.
Yeah. But the Green Lantern was always one of my favorites, and I looked up this list and I was like, how to get into Green Lantern continuity, and it was a list of like 60 fucking books. And of course, the fourth one is like out of print, so you can't read it. And I'm like, dude, just like,
it's not accessible.
And I know that, like again, like you said, it's like they've restarted, rebooted, re-timelined a lot of stuff. But I was like, I'm interested, like going to the comic book store when I was 15 or whatever, and I would see the Green Lantern series where it was like this like the war of the lanterns and it's all the different I was like, that looks so fucking cool, and I was like, I want to know about that, and I can't because I have to read 60 fucking books to get there.
I tried starting Batman over with one of the reboots, and I think it was New 52, and then I still gave up. I still gave up on it.
I think
that
I
might be
3 weeks on these books.
That might be the Court of Owls thing where that starts, is New 52.
Is that also the one where the Joker like rips off his face?
Yeah,
I remember that vividly and being like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Classic
it's too
Joker.
much for the first. That can't be the number issue 2. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's like way into the relationship when he rips his own face.
Yeah. Whoa there, buddy.
Putting when you start.
I'm the Joker, baby. That's what he said. A great example again of how Dark Knight poisons society.
that is actually a great point.
Yeah. I want to circle back to performances briefly because there's one or two more I want to talk about. Aaron Eckhart.
His best movie, I think. I've seen some Eckhart movies, and Thank You for Smoking, maybe.
Yeah.
He's better in that. But
what else is he in? I don't feel like I've seen him in a lot of stuff.
He's in a Steven Soderbergh movie. No, Aaron Brockovich. Yeah, he's in Aaron Brockovich. Which is really funny because this is going to be such a niche thing for like probably no one who listens to this. But if you look up Aaron Eckhart in Aaron Brockovich, he...
Do you want me to look it up?
No.
Okay.
I'm a professional.
Dan's like got his drink and his microphone, typing this one-handed into his computer at the moment.
All right, so...
That's a good look.
Look at this. All right, folks at home, right now, Google Aaron Eckhart in Aaron Brockovich.
I know who I think he looks like. I don't know if you're going where I think you're going.
There's no way you're guessing what
Chef in Wet Hot American Summer?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
yeah, I was thinking Chef in Wet Hot American Summer looks just like him.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking Bandit Keith from Yu-Gi-Oh!
No idea. No idea.
You guys get cultured, okay?
Yeah, that's pretty...
There's an American guy in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, and he's a villain because he's American.
As he should be. Jesus Christ.
But that's the same fucking guy. Everyone at home, look up, first of all, Aaron Eckhart in Aaron Brockovich, and then follow it with Bandit Keith from Yu-Gi-Oh!
And then also Chef from Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah.
What's it? He has a name. Do you remember what his actual name is? I should know this. I'm looking up what his character's name is. That's gonna bother me.
Pretty out there when I'm watching Wet Hot American Summer. So
I love that's in my top 4 movies ever.
Gene,
thank you. That really would have bothered me if I had
right off the top of the head.
You looked at. I can see your Google.
I'm looking at Bandit Keith from Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now.
You're looking at that cast of Wet Hot American Summer.
Nah, that doesn't sound right.
Gene, I should have known that. That's embarrassing. My favorite moment in the movie, meaning the dumbest part of the movie for me, and people complain about this, is when the Joker walks in and Aaron and like Harvey Dent doesn't respond until he takes off the mask, and then he gets mad the Joker's there. Yeah. It's like, who did you think that was, buddy?
Wait,
do you have an excuse for that?
Wait.
No, it's just.
I'm trying to remember the scene. Wait, is this
it's
at the
when
party?
The Joker first walks into the hospital. The Joker's wearing a surgical mask, and like Harvey Dent
doesn't
respond.
And then he goes,
and he takes the mask off, and he's like, Rrr.
Yeah.
So you have no faith whatsoever, 0% faith that was intentional comedy on the part of the filmmaker.
It's such a weird part to be funny. No.
The funny part is how he goes, hi. That's the funny part. I think he's pretty good. I always think it's funny the way that actors play really traumatic moments. When people are in like a lot of distress, they're like kind of ugly while they're doing it. And I think the like, Rachel, no, Rachel. Like I'm like, I don't know about that as a performative choice. But I'm also kind of like, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know.
It didn't bother me, but speaking of Rachel's, I like Maggie Gyllenhaal a lot in this.
Ooh.
I'm a big Maggie Gyllenhaal fan. You don't like her?
Okay, so this maybe it's a hot take. I think she's totally wrong in this movie.
It's not a great follow-up from Katie Holmes. It's like a huge vibe shift that...
I don't remember much about Katie Holmes' performance. I haven't seen Batman Begins in forever.
It's just pretty Katie Holmes, but it's just... I just feel like that whole relationship dynamic changes with the actress because they play it so differently.
Yeah.
So it kind of does. I think that's a weak part in the movie. I'm sorry, I may talk over.
No, go ahead.
I just do not Maggie Gyllenhaal's performance, but like just the change in actresses just does seem to like reduce the stakes. I feel like which is what is essentially Bruce Wayne's whole dramatic arc in the movie. But like I just don't. It's like the one thing I don't feel like attached to because it just feels like a new woman that you're meeting because she just plays it so differently.
Gotcha.
But you're supposed to believe that he loves her the way that for his whole life, you know.
Yeah, I guess like I don't care about Batman Begins enough to like consider that when I'm watching The Dark Knight or whatever. I don't know. I like how smart she plays Rachel, and that to me clicks why Bruce is so like infatuated with her.
Yeah,
that's my thing, I guess.
I know what you're saying. I do agree with that too. I guess I do feel like she. I guess I just feel like the relationship dynamic just changes. Yes, because she plays it differently. Yeah, but I do think I like the way I like that version of Rachel more. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, but I do agree with you about that. Yeah.
Dan, why do you hate Maggie Gyllenhaal?
I don't hate Maggie Gyllenhaal. I just don't like this performance. I guess Maggie Gyllenhaal is in one of my favorite movies of all time, Donald Darko, in which she plays. Old elder Darko. I don't remember her name in the movie.
Is she the one that says fuck ass?
It's Jean. It's Jean. Her name's Jean.
Yeah, Jean.
Everyone's name is Jean if you don't know the character's name.
I guess I don't know. It's like her performance in this movie is like I'm trying to find the right word for it. It's like swaggering.
Yeah.
You know, she's very like
I get what you're getting at.
You know what I mean? Like she's very like when she's interrogating Lau, she's like, and just so we know, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. There's something weird about it. I don't feel the chemistry between her and Dent, and I don't feel the chemistry between her and Batman.
It's because she has such a to what Tommy's saying. I think that like her version of what Rachel is and could be is like very like interesting, and I like watching it, but it doesn't connect to the like love story part of it. It just doesn't, because it's almost like such a powerful character that like it's hard to believe that she would even give a shit about either of these guys. Really.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I don't quite understand that choice, I guess. Because I don't even think like the things that she says don't make sense or anything. It's just like the way that they're played is pretty big, and it's kind of like everybody else's, or at least Bruce and Harvey are a little more understated in their romantic moments. Mm-hmm. So I don't quite understand it. But then she dies. So
you got your wish, Dan.
Yeah, the whole time. God, I want you to
finally she's dead.
I want you to kill Spider-Man.
Are you guys Spider-Man 3 fans?
I love Spider-Man 3.
I like Spider-Man 3. I'm not like it's not my favorite.
I have a specific take about it, which is that I think it's actually better than the majority of superhero movies that have come out since then. Despite like the sort of like reverence for these movies, I think it's just more fun.
Yeah. It takes a lot of chances that are good.
It's by far the worst of those three movies, though.
Yeah. I think Spider-Man 2 is perfect. Like I have no notes.
But memes have also done a lot for it. Just like Phantom Menace, you know, like memes have done a lot of work for it. Actually, Dark Knight Rises too. Honestly, write a bad enough movie that where a lot of people write a lot of memes about it, you're good.
And the public opinion will kind of come around. Yeah.
It has affected me for sure because Spider-Man 3, the prequel movies, and Dark Knight Rises are all entertaining to me because they're memes. Like the opening scene of Dark Knight Rises.
You're a big guy.
For you. Like that scene is edited insane. Like it's cocaine editing. It's like Dr. Pavel, I'm CIA. Like he's like that's not like who would say that? That's not your name. Who would say that? It's that scene is a really great example of like what you're critiquing about The Dark Knight, where it's like everybody's saying everything like they're in a movie.
Yeah,
and it's like
it's my least favorite thing in movies.
Yeah. Oh man, it cracks me up though. The Mask of the Man. Bane. It's endlessly quotable. All right, so this is the segment where we read quotes from the movie that entertain us.
Can I do my list of lines that made me roll my eyes? Are we there?
Yeah.
Guess that's why they call him the Joker. I guess the Joker's as crazy as they say.
Those aren't in the movie.
Those are both in the movie.
No, you made those up.
In the scene you said was perfect.
No. Those aren't in the movie. Those are Simpsons MP3s that Tommy plugged into the computer.
Of the famous Dark Knight Simpsons parody.
Yes.
We have Scarecrow saying, "Not in my diagnosis."
I like that line.
I don't like that line. I don't like that.
Not in my diagnosis.
I don't like that line.
Oh man, that's Cillian Murphy who's about to win Best Actor.
Don't tell me
true.
you don't like. I'm not wearing hockey pads.
I like that.
Dude,
one.
that line
I call it when I was
fucking
liking
rips.
it. No, that one is my good list.
All right. We want to put that. We want to sample that on an album. So if we do it, just do it.
I'm not wearing hockey pants.
I love
That's
that
my
line.
I fucking love.
That's
that.
a great line. We have. I just wrote the entire conversation between Rachel and Harvey where they introduced the coin when they're in the courtroom just talking about philosophy and their differences. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
I hate the whole courtroom scene. I do hate the carbon fiber gun thing.
It makes no sense.
And it just like the whole movie. I hate it because now that I know it and I like the movie, I'm like, this whole thing could have never happened if that gun just worked. Like I'm just kind of like,
Yeah,
why
that's
introduce
true.
such high stakes so early on? I like don't.
Buy American.
I'll show you hostile. And then and then that scene ends with he's like, all right, we'll take a recess, and he goes, but Judge, I'm not done.
That's one of the lines.
I'm like,
Judge, I'm not done.
that line is so wild. I'm like, that's kind of a banger.
No,
I'm
that's
like,
that's in the Roll My Eyes list. It's on the Roll My Eyes list.
No, it's
The
great.
people in the courtroom. Yeah, literally
Yeah,
applaud. That's what I was
people
gonna say. They literally start applauding him, and I'm like, God damn, Nolan's so full of himself.
Nolan
Oh my
is the
God.
greatest. I just decided Nolan's the greatest entertainer of all time. His worst lines are the funniest one.
3 lines that made me say no shit were, "You got rules." The Joker, he's got no rules. This one might be controversial, but when he's like, "You're the symbol of hope I could never be," I was like, no shit. And the other one where he's like, "It's not about the money, it's about sending a message," I was like, okay, also no shit.
He was the best of us.
Like that kind of stuff. I'm like, come on, just get over it.
Well, the whole end of the movie is literal. It's just the epilogue.
Explaining.
Of,
Yeah, that's why I don't like the end of the movie that much.
But okay.
But in 2008, we
think
popped.
I think that what's more interesting here is how much I feel like I'm learning about you and your distaste for being talked down to in a narrative
I am
format.
a smart man.
Yeah, no. I mean, I appreciate it because I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I just, it's not even. Yeah, no, it's that.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I was gonna say something else, but I think I agree.
Honestly, okay, that's a very interesting point.
I don't know if it's being talked down to so much as I want to be trusted. Like I want there to be mutual trust between me and the film.
Totally.
That's the positive way.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this. Overwhelmingly, majority of movies, I feel the exact same way. I don't want to be talked down to. I don't want things explained to me.
Do you think most movies do that? I guess that's my question. Do you think that's a common movie problem? Okay.
Well, I think we're smarter than the average movie viewer in a lot of
I don't know
ways.
shit.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
we are in DIY bands, dude. We know what's
guys. I got 2 pieces of paper right here.
Dan has studied movies.
I'm looking at them the whole time.
I got 2 pieces of paper here that
He's
say
gesturing toward his diplomas.
I know something. I know something, guys.
Yeah.
I think at the very least, I have learned the codes.
Yeah.
I have learned the codes of movies.
Yep.
So I think when a movie is doing too much to tell me things that I already know, I don't like that. It does frustrate me. I totally understand.
Yeah.
I guess, and we're not arguing against each other at all.
I know.
For people at home,
We love each other.
yeah,
That's
we're
right.
literally we're not arguing against each other. We're explaining our philosophy out loud, much like the characters in The Dark Knight.
Joker and Batman should have just had a podcast. They could have sorted it out so much quicker.
I don't like being talked down to. I don't like being treated like an idiot. And I think, like, I felt that way watching Tenet because, like, you know, on the flip side of this, it's like
That movie does treat you like an idiot. It literally says, don't.
But like in
even
a
think
sexy
that.
way, so it's fine.
Yeah.
If it's sexy, I don't care.
It's like a sexy scientist, right? Like a.
If it's like a being talked down to like a oh yeah kind of way, I'm like into it. But if it's like a being talked down to kind of way, I don't like it.
Well, the city just showed you.
you are the best of us. A bright knight who can do what I can do. I don't even know the lines. It's like,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. Pretty much. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I mean, like, of course, I enjoy smart movies, but I also don't like, you know. I feel the same way, and I could totally empathize with somebody who feels that way about Inception, you know, where it's like, yeah, why am I just listening to a bunch of explanation things?
Yeah.
I totally get that. On the other hand, like I've said a lot of times, and maybe I don't think it invalidates my opinion, but it's certainly taking into consideration that, again, like I said, this was a huge deal for me as a 13-year-old, and still to this day, I think all the other elements of it are fantastic and give it enough privilege for me to buy in. I also am at a point in my life and in my experience with artistic forms where I am learning to appreciate things that are not trying to do too much, you know? And I like for example, I have a coworker who has a master's in poetry, but I was like, you know, what kind of stuff do you read these days? Because I'm sure like you must be like me, where you're like so burnt out on the regular shit, regardless of it's acclaimed or not or whatever. And you know, he's like, I just mostly read nonfiction now. You know, I read a lot of news articles, whatever. And I'm like, I'm kind of the same way, where it's like I am almost more excited about watching like some direct to Redbox movie that Stone Cold Steve Austin was in than I am the Zone of Interest. Like I just like, it's just, I love the basics, and I appreciate things that aren't doing the most, and I like, and when you can have the experience that I think that I have with The Dark Knight, whereas I am bypassing my own prejudices to enjoy something genuinely, I'm celebrating it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
So that is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
But I totally recognize your argument, and I'm not wearing hockey pants.
Pants.
I've always heard it as pants.
It's pads.
I've always heard it as pants, and I think it's way funnier.
I don't think hockey pants is a thing.
What do you think they wear during hockey?
Pants.
For hockey?
They're not specific.
I'm gonna call Josh Kane right now and ask him if hockey pants exist. Do you have more lines that made you roll your eyes?
Those are the main ones. We'll be like turkeys on Thanksgiving down there.
Oh yeah, that whole character is so annoying. But I think that's
not good. That's not good.
I think that they make that guy annoying on purpose, but no matter what, I can't understand what the purpose is.
Yeah, why?
Oh, the SWAT driver?
Yeah,
passenger.
Yeah.
You didn't do any justice to his "it's not good."
No.
Oh, that's not good. That's how he does it.
They do that. They literally do that in every one of these Batman movies, where there's a scene of cops just being annoying for some reason. Like he's flying on rooftops. That's from Batman Begins. What is the? I don't know, man.
Cops have a very.
Christopher Nolan does kind of hate cops. That is basically the through line in all these. Batman
Well, I was gonna say in Dark Knight Rises, there's a lot of I'm a cop. Like Joe Gorlev's whole fucking character is I'm a cop. Show me some respect.
But
at the end he's like he throws his badge off the thing. But yeah, he's that is weird.
State anymore, bro.
No more dead cops.
Things are worse than ever.
It's one of my favorite things. The sound design choices. Like it's not like I almost guarantee you it was not Christopher Nolan's choice to put those lines in. But like in editing, they were like, we need some lines here.
Yeah, it's too dead.
Yeah, and
that's the part of the movie that I find completely like hard to even. I don't follow that in like an emotional way, because the look Christian Bale gives when he decides he was about to turn himself in as Batman, and he makes that split-second decision, and the look he gives is just not convincing at all. That he just had a huge moment of like existential awakening. You know what I mean? Because he's just kind of like, huh. All right, yeah, okay.
Well, this guy's gonna do it. Fine, fuck it.
Oh, he's like,
he literally like wipes a bead of sweat from his forehead. That would have been awesome. He goes, oh, thank God.
That scene is wild. He's like, all right, take the Batman into custody. And then everybody's like, there's another guy, like, you know, voice in the background that goes, what?
One day, the Batman will have to answer for the laws he's broken. But to us, not to this madman.
No more dead cops! He should turn himself in! Give us the bat!
So be it. Take the Batman into custody.
And he goes, I am the Batman. And then, Christopher Bale sits down.
Christopher.
Sorry. Classic.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right, Alfred. Letting Harvey take the fall is not heroic at all.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Like, I'm like, dude, chill out. Chill out, Maggie.
It's not sealed. Yeah, she's going hard.
Yeah.
She's fun to watch. She's just not the same character from the movie. It just doesn't have.
It's that emoji where it's like the nails being painted the whole time. That's her character.
Trust me, Harvey.
We haven't
Bruce's
talked about
penthouse.
all like the little Chicago-isms in this
Nice.
movie.
I
Shot in
had a
Chicago.
note.
Very Chicago movie. Yeah.
My big note, and I texted you guys this when I was watching it, but I'll say it again anyway. You can see a Benny's in the background when he's driving underneath the L in his Lamborghini. There's a Benny's in this movie, and that does my heart so good.
That is crazy.
It's awesome.
Shout out to Benny's, sponsor us.
Benny's, I buy all my liquor from you, and we make like every cocktail we've made on this show.
Oh damn!
Give me money.
Yeah. That's a one-time offer, Benny's. He's not
One-time
gonna
offer.
mention you
Give me
again.
money.
So if you're at least an hour 20 deep into this podcast, there,
The Benny's social media team.
Oh, fuck, we gotta get this guy's money.
Benjamin or whatever your name is. In the opening scene, the school bus has an Illinois license plate, but instead of Illinois, it says Gotham.
Oh.
As if Gotham's the state.
Nice little touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
cool.
They really do that. Yeah, that's hilarious.
There is a Bud Select neon.
What?
In the scene where Joker like delivers himself faking his death to gamble, and then he's like, he does the tryouts.
They don't even sell Bud Select in Illinois, really.
Well, they might have in 08. Back
But
when
it was 06, 07 when they're filming. I mean, you really.
Yeah. Well, it must.
How
this is
far
where it
we've
must have
fallen.
Yeah, Bud Select lore very important to Movie Club.
Oh,
Bud
yeah,
Select
that's true.
lore.
That's fair.
Bud Select is the most important thing to me. That's the comment.
It's very important because it's brewed for the loo.
It's brewed for the loo. Did you know
Except
that,
for in this case
Michael?
when
I've heard you talk about it before in some.
have you had Bud Select?
No, I don't drink.
Oh
a lot
my
of Bud.
God,
I'm
Bud's-
a Miller
Bud's-
guy mostly.
That's sad, but Bud
This is
Select
a Miller
is
City.
so much better than any Miller product I've ever had.
I like Bud Heavy.
Bud Heavy's really
Yeah,
good.
that's the only one I've
But
really had.
but Bud Heavy's really good. Bud Heavy Draft is amazing.
I like the Bud Light Lime too.
I do like Bud Light.
BLL, sure.
Yeah.
You ever have a BLO? Bud Light Orange.
I have.
I have.
No, I don't like
Those
it
are
as
pretty
much.
good.
I don't like.
I
it.
went on the brewery tour and they had a sample of it. I didn't love it.
They like pull it out of a fucking barrel as if it's natural.
Not just juice.
Yeah.
No, I went on the brewery tour, but I paid the extra money to where you got like free samples of stuff they had bottled like that day, and it was like you had to choose between Bud Light Lime or Bud Light Orange or what. I think there was one other flavor, and I was like, well, I've had Bud Light Lime, so I guess I'll try Bud Light Orange, and it like was fine.
Yeah, I didn't hate it, but I'm not going out on limb for it.
But Bud Select, I need to tell my dad next time he listens to all these episodes. Dad, when you come to Chicago next,
Bring a 30 rack.
Bring me a 30 rack of Bud Select, so I can give one to Michael.
Thank you, Dad.
I love Bud Select.
Bud Select's so
It
good.
was my two beers of choice, and the other one is also not available in Chicago. When I was living at home, before I moved to Chicago, were Bud Select and Natty Light. No Natty Light in this city.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that
Have
was
you
a
s- have you
staple
s-
in college.
have you seen
I
a
never
fucking
looked.
Natty
I
Light
never
in
looked
Chicago?
for it.
It is Anheuser-Busch's third best-selling brand.
That makes sense.
And they spend exactly $0 on advertising. It is a beer that sells itself.
Yeah, that was like big at my college. Yeah.
It's a college beer. That's how I.
Yeah.
The point is, Bud Select is 99 calories and it's brewed for the loo.
Brewed for the loo.
Also, not an advertiser, but plenty of free
But
advertising. if you wanna-
what do you think we're doing
if you
right
wanna
now?
chip in.
Bud Select, if you're listening,
Become a Patreon.
We got some AB
subscriber.
links here on
we
the podcast.
do.
We got some AB
We have
connects.
one very big AV link.
Yeah, at least one.
Yeah, at least one.
Chicago stuff. This movie shares exactly one cast member with local band 2024.
What?
It's true. So Brian Houlihan, who's a friend of mine that I worked with, plays the Italian restaurant manager in local band, the movie.
Yeah.
And is one of the nurse orderlies in the hospital evacuation sequence.
Wow.
He told me this story about just being around in Chicago as like a working comedian, actor, whatever, and answering a casting call for background people of a general sense, and said he was like lighting up a joint or something, like waiting around on set, and
You know what he was on set for? At
yes,
The time? Yeah.
and he said that like there was like some security guard who was like, "Yo, let me hit that" or whatever, and then he was like, "Yeah, sure, man."
And it
he's
was
like,
Christopher
It
Nolan.
was Christopher Nolan. No, it was the guard was like, "Hey, you want to like get a little closer or whatever?" And he said, he was like, "Okay, yeah." And he got like into like featured extra territory, and he's seen very briefly in one shot where they're loading people on, and you can like clearly see his face and everything. And he told me that like he's got scrubs on, but it had a full character name like on a name tag.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's very detailed.
He's a character in The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty wild. We love when things get shot in Chicago, frankly. This movie does feel very Chicago. Dark Knight Rises is like Pittsburgh or something.
All over.
It's totally different. Yeah.
Lame. I have nothing against Pittsburgh. I've never been there, but I'm assuming it's worse.
It's a nice place.
Oh, okay, never mind. Take it back.
Also, I think my family's from there. So.
Take it back.
No.
You're right.
Shout out to Matt Galante, right?
Oh, Galante too. Yeah. I don't want to say anything bad about Pittsburgh.
No, nice place, and it has to kind of be. It's great for The Dark Knight Rises because it's got like the rivers that surround the city, so it makes a great sense for that plot.
Totally. But it's just weird that it's a completely different city.
I do agree because he does a little bit of Batman Begins in Chicago.
Yeah,
that's a movie that's hard to watch now because the CGI doesn't hold up, and there's like CGI'd parts of Gotham that are like it's like Chicago downtown, but then they just put like the really bad neighborhoods right next to downtown instead of kind of like spread out from there.
Yeah.
So it's like they just CGI all of it in, but it looks pretty bad now.
Damn.
And there's like a really nicely functioning train system.
Yeah. Right through the heart.
Yeah.
Right through the heart of Gotham, Wayne Tower. What are we talking about? What about? Can we talk about some things that don't really work in this movie or make much sense? Like, how did Jim Gordon fake his death from everybody, including the people that were right there with him?
Oh, fuck if I know. Yeah.
That doesn't.
Classic Gordon.
I know. What happened? Did he
always faking his death.
Did he fake being dead onto a stretcher in an ambulance to a hospital and then like get put into a morgue and then escape from the? You know what I mean? Like, how long do you do that?
I don't know.
This is exactly the kind of like plot detail where like when we were younger and watching it in the movie theater, we were like, okay, yeah, sick. And now like we're kind of like, wait, what?
How many people had to be in on it? And which ones, and like, how do you make that decision and plan that?
Any movie where you fake your own death is demanding a lot of questions.
Having faked my own death at least 3 times, what I can say about it.
Yeah, give us your insights.
My insight: you can't let a lot of people know because it defeats the point. You gotta let 2 people maybe who can like be accomplices. That's the big thing. You can't let a lot of people know.
My buddy Andy did that.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Still dead.
Cool.
Kaufman.
All I can think of is the Sunny episode where Charlie and Mac fake their death. There's an episode where Charlie and Mac fake their death, and they want to fake a car crash. So, like, we need to crash our car into a building and have it explode. And there's this scene of just Mac driving the car into a building, but doesn't have time to jump out and just crashes the car and gets so fucking injured. I love that show. Sorry.
Me too.
I'll do it. I love that show.
Love Always Sunny.
So good.
I have another question about this movie. Something I genuinely didn't understand. So, like, through the whole movie, Dent is going, you got all these crooked cops in your unit. You know what I'm talking about? To Gordon.
Yeah.
He's like,
that's his whole MO, yeah.
Yeah, and I still don't understand exactly what that was about or what the context of it was. Like, because you see, you know, like there's the older guy who's got like the like picture of Abraham Lincoln and Sasquatch on the wall, and then you've got Ramirez, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, so was Ramirez a double agent or something?
Her mom was in the hospital. She
Right.
mentions that at the beginning with Gordon.
Yes.
So her excuse, her rationale is she needs the money to help pay for her mom's hospital bills.
Right.
Yeah.
So she is doing things for the mob to pay
Yeah.
for the hospital bills.
Yeah.
Okay, that was not beat over my head, unlike most things.
They don't. Yeah. They don't spend a lot of time on like the. You just have to.
It's just like a given.
You
that
have
cops
to believe,
are corrupt,
yes,
I guess.
exactly. And you have to believe that Harvey Dent really cares.
Yeah.
And the quick backstory with that is like him and Gordon in his office, and you understand that his career was built on basically working in like a DA's office.
In internal affairs,
Yeah.
he says,
So he was basically
yeah.
prosecuted a bunch of cops, so the cops hate him. Yeah.
Yeah,
because-
he's like, I don't like the fact
'Cause they would
that
see him as
your
a narc.
unit
Yeah.
was a bunch of people that I investigated when I was an
Yep.
IA.
Yeah. That's you guys like that scene on the rooftop, the 3 of them. That is like ripped straight from the comic books.
I like that scene, yeah.
That's yeah.
With Denton,
Gordon and
Gordon
Batman.
and Batman, and Batman doesn't speak for most of the scene. That's
And
pretty
just-
awesome.
yeah, I like that scene. He's just kind of there.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I just kind of never put that all together. Like, because Ramirez also like concerned because they were going to blow up a hospital, right? And so it was like that's another element of like, oh, she's willing to do whatever. But I never quite understood what Dent was so suspicious of.
I think he just had already like basically investigated them. And
he was just saying in general, lots of cops can be corrupt because everyone in the city is kind of corrupt.
I think those cops specifically he had investigated to some degree and like found them to be corrupt, but they like couldn't get them in trouble for whatever reasons. I'm sure they have a strong union in Gotham. The police union is probably.
And Gordon's only reason for that is he says like, I'm doing the best with what I have. Yeah. Okay.
Because the point of the movie is that the system. This is the kind of thing that I think maybe this is where I do think the movie does have like a more subtle and sort of like thoughtful approach to some of these bigger, but they're not ideas. They're like kind of
it's like plot intricacies that it doesn't take. Well, because it doesn't need to really, I guess. But
just this idea that there is like an unresolvable corruption within the system.
Yeah.
The whole plot of the movie hinges on that you can't even trust your police officers, and so then everything becomes. There is no real authority, right?
Yeah.
So,
except the Batman.
Yeah.
Until the next movie when the police officers are all put underground and then like all the criminals rise up and become a weird like apocalyptic Lord of the Flies situation, and then when the cops are freed, they finally take down all the bad guys.
I remember like nothing about Dark Knight Rises. I'm realizing.
But yeah, in general, like that is something I've always kind of noticed is like this Dark Knight is very into kind of very widespread pure ideas of like good and evil in a way.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they're or at least like daring to be good in a world full of evil is a big part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Harvey Dent, like his arc is about succumbing to the idea that maybe it's futile.
It was just easier the whole time. He was just fighting that off, but he put all his energy into that.
So people,
and that's
good
why
or bad?
That's why we got to chase him.
Ah,
because he's a silent protector. He's a spooky guy. He's a big bat.
Freaky little
bat
boy.
He's a sick little freak. He's a Dark Knight. That was a direct MP3 that I just looked at the movie. I want to mention one other scene that I really love, and that's long time ago, me and my friends were in Burma investigating a tangerine. The size
of a tangerine.
One of my okay.
Yeah. The whole idea that Bruce Wayne would be like, so why steal him? Didn't you already, this is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Didn't you already get it? You know why.
Because he thought it was good sport. Because he thought it was. My Alfred is so much more like London British.
That's way more Michael Caine and Tenet. I don't know. That's just a joke that he acts the same in all those movies.
I remember watching this movie and having the idea of like it would be really funny to recut this scene, but he just keeps saying tangerine over and over again. And then I looked it up on YouTube and somebody fucking did it already. It's called The Tangerine Night. It's one of the funniest fucking videos. And he's like,
a long time ago, I was in Burma. My friends and I were working for the local government. They were trying to buy the loyalty of tribal leaders by bribing them with a tangerine. But their caravans were being raided in a forest north of Rangoon by a bandit. So we went looking for the tangerine. But in 6 months, we never met anyone. One day, I saw a child playing with a tangerine. The bandit had been throwing them away. Well, because he thought it was good sport. Because some men aren't looking for anything logical. Some men just want a tangerine.
a tangerine. Because his delivery of that is so intense, and it's so memorable. I don't know why.
There are a lot of just like this movie is like rapid fire, just memorable little things for no reason. There's a part at the end when Lucius Fox is like guiding him through that fight with the SWAT officers, and he says, "There's some bad guys up on the next floor," and I'm like, why would you say? No one would say it.
There's some bad guys. I also never quite understood the clowns are the hostages. Everyone like I get that they're like, you know, Joker's setting him up to like have them kill the hostages by accident, but like, so the bad guys were on the ground. And
they're just like hanging out in like
gun?
Doctors' outfits. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not one of Joker's best plans.
I think it's just a small diversion to keep things at bay a little bit.
He knew that Batman was going to figure it out.
Yeah. He wanted Batman to get there. He wasn't
It also makes Batman look like the bad guy than fighting the SWAT team.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a great point because that's the night that Batman killed Harvey Dent.
Yeah,
he pushed all those police officers. He pushed all those police officers off. They were all tied up.
Yeah.
He made a point to not kill any of them.
Right.
But then he just went and killed Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're supposed to believe that? That bullshit? What are you talking about?
Bullshit movie.
So, do they ever say... They don't ever say the words Two-Face in the movie, do they?
They do.
Oh, wait,
there's a scene where he's like, what do they call me down at... And whatever,
Yeah,
and then he's like,
right.
they call Harvey Two-Face.
I also noticed that, like, but they almost mention it earlier in the movie when he's like, I heard they got another name for me down there.
Yeah.
And then it just goes to the next scene.
Yeah,
I think it goes
cut.
to the next the court scene.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the end, the classic line, so I think I'm Two-Face.
What is this, some kind of a Two-Face?
So that's it, huh? I'm some kind of Two-Face?
That was the joke I was trying to make.
That is the fun, dude. Like, it's like 4chan wrote a fucking movie script. Like, I'm talking about the Suicide Squad, directed by David Ayer. Like, so that's it, huh? Some kind of Suicide Squad. Amazing.
I only saw that once. No, I've seen it twice.
I saw it once in theaters, and I saw the extended cut because I was optimistic it'd be a little bit better, and it wasn't. It was just more of worse.
I did the exact
Well,
same
when they
thing.
release the Ayer cut, it'll be the best.
It'll be so much
Yeah,
better,
it'll be the greatest DC film of all time.
Have you guys seen the Snyder Cut?
Yeah.
I liked it.
I haven't.
Me
no.
too.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I'm pro Batman vs Superman extended cut.
I am too.
See, I thought I was. Dude, I don't know. I remember. I think I had I remember watching the extended cut of that and just thinking like, wow, this is a very long train wreck. Like I can't look away, but yeah,
it's the can't looking away that I was sold.
See,
I'm fine with that.
That was around the time that I was reading those comics, and I was so excited for it because I was like, okay, they're pulling on all these like edgy comic books that I like, and like he's trying to give it the Frank Miller, Alan Moore treatment, and like, make Superman political or whatever. And I was like, that's exciting. And then, it was. I also hated that they used Apocalypse in that movie.
Yeah, that was dumb. They didn't need to pull that in.
What's the big difference? What's the like qualitative kind of difference between like these Nolan movies and the Snyder movies that like just makes these more?
I don't think the filmmaking is nearly on the level of.
Do you
Nolan.
think it's related to like the way it's filmed? Like some of those are on like green screens and like.
I think Zack Snyder's visual instincts and his abilities to create interesting images and pretty images are just obscuring the poor storytelling, for the most part. And I think he doesn't quite understand. I don't know, like he doesn't understand a lot of his characters, like in a kind of full sense.
He's only interested in them as like these mythological beings versus like they're still people, and doesn't really explore that. I don't think.
I think that's where Batman vs Superman does kind of hit for me. Is it seems like he's acknowledging that in that one, and like the Justice League, it's fun to watch, but I don't feel like he's really acknowledging that concept. I think he goes back to like taking it very seriously and like.
Well, he's responding to the Avengers. Like, I mean, from a top-down perspective, it's also like we're giving Zach a lot of credit, honestly, because like those kind of movies, which I'm sure there was some top-down like control on Dark Knight or whatever, but I don't think superhero movies were as bankable necessarily as they are now, where like it's a fucking.
It wasn't like the entire
assembly
studio
line.
was writing on it or anything.
And I think Justice League was like, we really need this to hit.
Well, the theatrical version is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
No doubt, it's so bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
I saw a preview screening in IMAX with my roommate when Justice League came out, and I remember at the time I was like, that was fun and stupid, and that was as much as I thought about it. And I rewatched it just like in my basement, like the summer after I graduated, and I was like, oh no, this is bad. This is so bad. It's so bad.
Does nothing. Does
yeah.
nothing.
ruined all my hopes for any Green Lantern content.
Yeah.
Well, we get the Green Lantern HBO Max series supposedly under James Gunn. They're doing like a True Detective style Green Lantern series.
The True Detective brand is.
Are we gonna go into True Detective right now?
Okay, remember, dude. Okay, seriously, really funny moment in my life was with you and the other guys at the bar last weekend, and I brought up True Detective season 4, and you were like, "It's dumb," and I was like, "No, but I kind of like." And you're like, "It's dumb," and
it is dumb. I am fascinated by where it's going and what it's doing, but not because I'm intrigued by the story. I just think it's an interesting thing to do in general, to take this beloved product and just kind of like do whatever with it. It is like Disney and Star Wars. It's like there is no shame. There's just no shame anymore.
Yeah, but yes, because like I guess True Detective is like that first season, one of the greatest limited series ever produced on prestige television, and they kept going. And I liked season 2.
I like season 2 too.
But like that season 2 did not pretend that it was season 1 at all. It was like, we're doing some new shit. I think now they're kind of caving to where they're like, we kind of have to resurrect magic.
They're doing too much though. It's just too, and it's just so, now it's so directly tied to the first season. There's no escaping it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just you can't ever just be like, I just like the first season. Now you like have to understand the whole thing as like, for some reason, one big contained story that like, and where the fact that you know about these things that happen has to matter for some reason. They've made it a really complicated like universe instead of just kind of like allowing it to exist.
Star Wars is like that too, where they're like, you can't watch any new thing without kind of being expected to weigh it against old things, which is kind of a bummer.
I watched 2 episodes of Ahsoka and then realized I had to have seen 3 different animated series, I think, and I was just like, God damn.
I fucking hate that. This is exactly what I was talking about, the Green Lantern comic books, dude. And also, like, I mean, that was also just like serialized linear storytelling in some way, but like, I kind of don't like that as a culture we are continuing to make things that are inseparable, even at a meta cinematic level, like Spider-Man Far From Home.
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Yeah,
sorry.
We just watched Spider-Man No Way Home. Dan had never seen it. And I like that movie.
I liked it too.
Yeah,
I liked it too. But I was like, was this the only place we could go with it? I was like, I don't know. I'm so torn because I'm like, I am simultaneously frustrated with it as a commercial choice.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh man, come on, you can't just do the easy thing, which is bank on, you know, how I felt about things that were already done. And then the other part of me is like, my heart is telling me that I do really miss Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, I am feeling genuine feelings about this.
Yeah.
But my greater artistic brain, who I usually follow, is kind of mad. So
turn that shit off.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I just wish that like, if you're gonna make the Batman, which they did, and they just made it its own fucking thing, I didn't have to know about Nolan at all. You know,
until the sequel when Christian Bale shows up in the post-credit scene.
Oh shit! And he's Batman Year Zero from Universe B.
Yeah.
And then,
George Clooney's there too.
And then Doctor Strange shows up.
The crossover event James Gunn promised me.
Yep. And then Goldberg comes in. And he
So do you think, as far as cinematic trilogies go, where do you think the Dark Knight trilogy? Does it? I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, which feels like maybe what the.
I haven't either.
Oh, there you go. Whoa, really?
I'm watching them in 3 weeks, I think, for the first time.
Are you watching regular or extended?
Regular for the first time.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's my
extended a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching the regular, all 3 of them in one day with a couple friends.
Oh man, those are warm and fuzzy for me. Man, that would be worth doing a podcast about for real. Just to get your feelings about them on a first watch would be awesome.
Yeah.
But
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I watched those about Thanksgiving time. I kind of went on a holiday thing this.
with Harry Potter too.
I watched Harry
yeah.
Potter series around Christmas. I watched Lord of the Rings around Thanksgiving this year, because they both evoke such wholesome things for me. And Lord of the Rings is a great trilogy. I have issues with some things in like, here and there, which is the same thing for Nolan's trilogy. I think Rises is, a bastard child, but it's like I love it.
Here's the thing about it. I like it. I don't ever feel the like sinking. I feel like my lows with it don't go that low. Yeah. I just kind of have like an opinion on it, and I never rewatch it and feel like. I usually feel pleasantly surprised. I feel like where I'm like, I enjoyed that more than I thought I would. So I think that's a good sign overall.
As a trilogy as a whole, I love that everything is the way that it is in a way.
I love that everything matters. It is a complete idea. It's like one arc of a person with purpose, and like everything does like matter and mean something throughout. There's a lot of trilogy where that doesn't feel like that's the case. Does it stack up to Star Wars for you guys, the first trilogy?
No, Star Wars is so much better in my mind.
I think original trilogy Star Wars probably is better, more consistent for sure. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I love Dark Knight trilogy for its flaws too, and I kind of almost don't want it to be different. Like
that's fair.
Like Back to the Future is another one. Like there's kind of like shaky moments, but I kind of like the way that it is.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's almost satisfying and fun and interesting the way that we get to talk shit on one movie and love another one, and like that experience is.
We need discourse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Nolan, good job. Pat on the back.
Pat on the back.
Two pats on the back.
Yeah.
It's a long podcast.
Nora Marks coming to Shuba's Tavern.
Oh yeah, what you got?
Sunday, February 18th. We're playing with The Flips and Dwells at Shuba's. It's free.
Hell yeah,
free show.
You have no excuse, general public.
And then March 1st, Beat Kitchen.
Beat Kitchen.
Winter Prom 2.0.
We did a 1.0. Y'all showed up. Now we're doing a 2.0, and that's the story.
With Tommy Kessler experience.
And Damager.
Routine Fuss.
Robot Civil War.
And Directrix. Woo woo! And special opening set by A Tangerine.
I can't do the voice. I'm not going to try.
Thanks, Michael, for coming and hanging out and talking about Dark Knight.
Are we still on the mics right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still going.
Thank you for having me. This was a good time.
Hell yeah.
No more dead cops.
No more dead cops. I don't want to end on that note.